name is Rachel and I'm the Communications Coordinator with Manx Wildlife Trust. I also shepherd a flock of rare breed sheep for Willinghart wool. I know during this time of isolation and social distancing and staying in as much as possible, it's hard sometimes because we're not able to see the countryside, the wildlife that we're usually used to seeing. So today in this video I'm going to take you with me to do the sheep. As a key worker and the carer of the sheep, I'm able to go out every day and look after them for their welfare. So I'll take you with me today and you can come and have a look. So let's go! Okay, so here we are at the sheep field. I brought them some food, if you see in there. Now that is like sheep sweeties, they absolutely love it. They'll follow me anywhere as long as I've got a bit of food, but it's also got a lot of minerals in for them as well. So it's a bit important when the grass is short like it is now to give them just base minerals and vitamins so that they can grow strong and healthy lambs. So they're all waiting. I don't know if you can hear them just there, but they're on the wrong side of the fence because they're not that smart. So we'll give them a shout and they'll come around the corner in a second. Come on then, girls. Come on then, girls. Now, there are 12 sheep in this field. They're all ewes, and that means that they are female sheep. But they're not all the same, so I'll show you in a minute and you have a look and see if you can see how many different types of sheep there are in here. And I'll tell you in a minute how many there are. Come on then, girls! Come on then, girls! Come on then, girls! Okay, here they all come. Come on! Come on then, girls! Come on! Good girls. Right, I'll put their food down here like this in a long line so they can all get some. Look, they love it. There we go. Hello. See if you can see how many different types of sheep there are. I'll give you a clue. There are only 2 of one set. So there's a big set of one, and see if you can see which ones they are. So there's 2 different breeds in here. Shropshire, which are a native English breed, and the Teeswater, which are a rare English breed. And they're on the rare breed survival list. There we go. All happy having their dinner. Now we'll go in a bit closer and I'll tell you who's who. So you'll see just there, there's one running away just there, and this one here with the black faces. They are the Shropshire sheep, and we keep these because they are the only sheep breed that are meant to not eat trees. So they're for conservation grazing in Patrick Orchard. This is Violet. They all have names. And she's a Teeswater, and if you have a look closely you can see in her wool that it's really curly. So these sheep have great wool for spinning, it's very soft, and for making clothes with, hats, scarves. This is Lapis, and she's named after a precious stone which is blue. She's very sweet. She's a shearling, which means she's only 1 year old. And that's one of last year's lambs, looking very, very well. Hey! And this is Emerald, the Shropshire. She's coming to see if I've got any more food, but I haven't got any. Hey! So for anyone that guessed, there are 2 different breeds of sheep in here. The Shropshires are used for conservation grazing because they don't eat the trees, which is very good. Whereas the Teeswaters will eat trees if they get hungry, so they're not quite so good at conservation grazing. But they are also on the rare breed list. So it's important that we preserve this rare breed so that their genes don't die out. Can you see them down there? They're all very friendly. Now we've come to the other end of the field and I'll just show you this. This is hay, which is the long dried grass. It's cut in the summer and it keeps all its nice nutrients so the sheep have something to eat in the winter when there's not much grass. Now the sheep here, see all the hay on the floor? They've actually got quite a lot of grass, and I put it out just in case. And they've had a little nibble, but they haven't been so bothered, to be honest. But it's there just in case they want it. And there they are. They followed me over. So we haven't got any lambs at the moment, but I will take you now to see some. Let's go. So I've just brought you to Patrick Community Orchard and Allotments. Now this is where we use the Shropshire sheep for conservation grazing. And we've planted lots of living hedgerows here, productive hedgerows, good for the birds to nest in, lots of rose hips and things like that. I'll turn the camera around. So we've got lots of fruit trees in here, apples, pears, nut trees, they're all just starting to blossom. So this is the orchard. Now the Shropshire sheep are good in here because they don't eat the new leaves of the trees. Oh, that's a nice blossom. We have, however, put these little barriers around them because they do like to have a scratch. So when they itch, they can damage the bark of the tree. So when they itch on the trees, the sheep, they can actually damage the bark of the tree. And when you damage the bark all the way around a tree, it can kill it. So that's not very good. So we've just protected the trees from that. But all of the branches and everything are safe from being nibbled at from the Shropshire sheep. Conservation grazing is important because it allows the biodiversity and the species richness that's already present to continue, but without a takeover by species like brambles, ginny nettles that can quite easily spread. So the sheep will nibble the new shoots of brambles, and they'll also nibble the new growth of ginny nettles, and they'll keep all those down whilst letting the other flora and fauna thrive. They're also, when they're walking along the fields, you wouldn't think this, but when they're walking along the paddock, their feet create little patches of bare earth, and this allows wildflower seeds and things to seed, whereas they wouldn't necessarily be able to before. So it's allowing the whole natural system to go ahead in an effective manner. So that's just a bit about the allotments. I will take you now to see the lambs. Let's go. So here we are in the barn where all the lambs are. I'll turn the camera around and you'll be able to have a look at some. Here we go. There are two different breeds of sheep in here. Well, technically there's three. So this here is a blue-faced Leicester, and here's her lamb. So the blue-faced Leicesters are quite similar to the Teeswater. They've got very soft wool. However, the blue-faced Leicester has finer wool. You see there the curls are a lot tighter. They don't have quite as much wool. There's another little lamb down there. Hello, little guy. His mum's very friendly. This here is a Scottish blackface. Now they're usually a hill sheep. They're very, very hardy. Don't usually have to come in. However, this sheep's teats are a little bit too big. So her lambs are needing a little bit of topping up because they can't drink from the mum very easily just yet. So that's why they're so friendly and coming up to say hello. And these guys actually aren't pure Scottish blackface. They are what is called a mule. So that is where you have a Scottish blackface ewe, so that's the female, and you cross it with a blue-faced Leicester, which is this one that we said before, but a boy, a tup, and you produce these mules here. So these little guys will go on to have their own lambs if they're a ewe lamb, and their lambs are then what we have in the meat industry. So that's them there. Here's another blue-faced Leicester. What else have we got? We've got a very big blue-faced Leicester lamb in there, and she's a single. So single lambs. So blue-faced Leicesters and Teeswaters can quite often have up to 3 or 4. They can have multiple lambs. So having 2 lambs is quite often. 3 is also quite common as well. But this sheep's just had 1, and it's a very big lamb. And because she's only got 1, she'll have a lot more milk to give it. So this lamb will probably grow quicker than the others and be bigger to start off with, because it's getting more milk from the mother. There's another one in there, quite a new one. And these ones down here are quite fresh as well. So it doesn't take them very long to get on their feet at all. This is going for a little drink now. The mum, you see that? So it doesn't take them very long to get up and drink, and they're running around within half an hour of being born. And that's a good sized lamb as well. So those black spots on the body will fade away as it gets older, and it'll be left with just its leg and face markings. So we've just grabbed hold of this little guy so you can have a closer look. He's got a very sweet little face. Oh, he's coming in for a kiss. So these guys are a lot friendlier than the normal lambs because they are being just helped along with a bit of extra bottle from humans. So he's giving me a kiss. Hey? They're very sweet. And this lamb will go on to have lambs of her own one day. So they start having lambs from when they're shearlings. So they've had their first shearing, they're over a year old, and then they'll be put to the tup. So it's actually by the time they're about 2 years old that they have their first lamb. There we go. Put her back in with her mum now. I'll see if I can get you a blue-faced Leicester lamb as well to see a little bit closer up. Oh, I've only got little legs, you see, so they're hard to get into the pen. Here we go. So this is a really big blue-faced Leicester lamb. So you see they've got bigger ears, big black ears. That's his mum there. He's okay, he's just here. He's just here. She's just calling to a lamb, so I'll put him back in with his mum. There we go. See him there? Nice big lamb. There. It's okay, mummy, we'll put him back in. Put him back in. There we go. There, all happy. Back with his mum. So these lambs in here will actually only stay in a day or so just to make sure they're okay. Most of the time they'll stay out. The blue-faced Leicesters, because their lambs don't have much wool when they're born, they can be a bit more prone to cold weather if it rains, so we like to bring them in just to make sure they're okay. But especially with the hill sheep, like the Scottish blackface here, generally they'll stay outside. They lamb fine outside. It's just that her teats are a little bit too big, so she's come in, and she'll stay in probably a little bit longer than the average, just to give her lambs a bit of a better start. They need the bottle just to top up a bit, but also they'll still be drinking off their mum. So as soon as they can drink properly off her when they're a bit bigger, they'll be put out as well. These are all the blue-faced Leicester sheep ewes that are about to give birth. So they've just come in just so they can be kept an eye on easier when we come and do night checks. They're easier to count. There's a cockerel saying hello to you there. Big cockerel. He's got great feathers, hasn't he? It's great to see all the colours in him, isn't it? There's a little black chicken there. So yeah, so they go out in the day for some grass, but it's easier at night time to be able to check on them if they're inside. See, that's the lambs and the sheep. So I'll take you now to go and see our tup group, and they'll be the last sheep that you'll see. So we'll go there now. Say bye to the sheep. So here we are at the tup field. These have got a different food than the girls. I'll just show you down there. So that in there is oats and peas. So it's got just as much protein in it as the cake, the hard food, but it's not got any added nutrients and things because they don't really need it, the boys. So I'll give them a shout, turn the camera around and give them a shout, and you'll see them all coming. Boys! Boy sheep! Come on! Boys! Come on! Come on! Now there are 8 sheep in here, and you've got to guess again how many different breeds there are. Okay, so there's 8 sheep, 8 tups, 8 boy sheep, but there's come on! There's a few different types, so I'll let you have a look and then I'll tell you in a minute how many different types there are. Come on, boys! Come on, boys! Come on! Good boys. So I'll put the food down here for them, like with the girls. There we go. they're all here now. Can you see how many different ones there might be in here? Let's say hello. Alright, so I'll tell you. There are actually 4 different breeds of sheep in here. So we have 4 different tups. So this here is a Teeswater tup, and so is the one next to him there that's looking up now. And that's a 4-year-old sheep and one of last year's lambs. There's another Teeswater, one of last year's lambs. This here is Dougal, and he is our grey-faced Dartmoor tup. Dougs! Too busy eating. Oh, this is Jet's come to say hello there. The food's on the floor. Hey? You got to be careful with tups because sometimes they can headbutt. These are really friendly, and they sometimes just get a bit overly friendly. But they're good boys. They like a bit of a head scratch sometimes, particularly. So there's Dougal there. He's looking at us now. He's grey-faced Dartmoor. He was very rare. There was only less than 500 breeding ewes a couple of years ago, but they have come up on the rare breed list now. There's 2 more Teeswaters. So we've seen 2 of the breeds. This is Admiral, and he is a Shropshire tup. So you've already seen one of them. This is just the this is the dad to one of the lambs in the fields. He's getting away there. They're all coming to say hello. So actually I lied. There's only three different breeds in here. So I've got 6 Teeswaters, 4 lambs, 2 older tups, and then we've got Admiral, who is the Shropshire, and Dougal, who's the grey-faced Dartmoor. This is one of last year's lambs. You can see how curly their hair is. So with the incoming new grass, these young tups will really bulk out. There's one. There's another one. You can see on their chests, they look like they're a bit dirty, but they've, you see on there, but they have this lick down. So this is a mineral lick, so that they can get any minerals that they're missing from the grass because it's short, but it does make a mess. Makes a mess, boys. Hey? So they're all very good boys. 2 of last year's lambs there, looking at me now. Actually, there's all 4 of last year's lambs. There's Adamite eats everything. Adamite and Dougal will just eat and eat and eat. But these guys are a bit more interested in what you're doing. And someone's destroying the fence over there. And Jet's having a go at the lick. Now I've just come to do the horse, check on the horse, who's just there, Mena. And there's this field here with locked-in sheep in it. So I'll show you them and tell you a bit about those, because they are almost, for us, the most important rare breed. So here we go. This is the field of locked-ins at Knockhalebeg Farm. You can see them quite well there. So the mums are all the lighter sheep that you can see. And then the little lambs, yeah, there's some closer there. They're just going to walk away. So the lambs come out very dark. They do get lighter with age, but mostly they get lighter because of the sun. So the sun bleaches their wool. They obviously are Manx rare breed. They can have 2, 4 or 6 horns, which is quite unusual for a sheep. They're a primitive breed. They were originally bred by the Vikings and brought over to the Isle of Man. They actually have 1 less vertebrae than the usual sheep. They belong to a group of sheep called the short-tailed sheep, and another couple of rare breeds in this, the same way and Castle Mooret. They were all bred by the Vikings and have obviously diversified as they were split off from the other breeds. So now you've seen all the sheep, I thought I'd show you some of the things that we can do with their wool. So this here is the start of the process. This is actually alpaca. It's very soft. I think you can even see from the video that it looks very soft. And this is what we call a raw fleece. So it's literally just been shaved off, the alpaca in this case, and that's it, nothing else. So it's still it's still got some twigs and things in it. It's not been washed, totally raw. So after that, generally, the fleece will be washed and then it's carded. So carding means making all the fibres go in the same direction. So whereas a normal sheep's fleece, they'll all be everywhere, this is where we use some combs and make all the fibres go in the same way. So here, this is a sheep's fleece, it's actually a Gotland, so this is the natural colour, grey. All the fibres are now aligned in straight lines, and then it makes it easier to felt with or to spin. So this is the second stage. So wrap that back up there. You can also card the wool without washing it. Some people like to card it, spin it, then wash it, so that's just whichever order people like to do it in. This here has been carded and then made into what we call rovings. So that's where they've been pulled out slightly, all the fibres are still going the same way, but it's a thinner. So this means that it's easier to spin from. So this will have been washed. This is also a natural colour, and you can see in this wool, it's not as soft, there's lots of hairs. Now these hairs come from quite a lot of primitive breeds. It's like an undercoating and makes their wool not quite as soft. So wool like this will generally be used for carpets, hard wearing things like placemats, things like that. So you've seen these rovings. Now also with rovings you can have dyed ones. So here we have a nice blue and purples and greens, and they always look nice like this, but you never quite know when you spin them how they're going to turn out because the colours can change and they all mix. So that's quite exciting. Now here we have some Teeswater locks. So these are just raw locks. They haven't been combed because you lose all the curl, and they've just been dyed as they are. So you get a dark one there. So you can see how curly they are there. Now you'll remember seeing from before the blue-faced Leicester lambs, and I was telling you how the wool is a bit different from the blue-faced Leicester. So this here is blue-faced Leicester wool. Get a bigger bit there. So you can see, compared to the Teeswater, the curl is a lot tighter. They generally don't have as much wool on them, and it's a bit fluffier up the top. Now, wool softness is measured in microns, so that's how thick the individual little hairs are in the wool. So Teeswater and blue-faced Leicester both have a similar micron count. It's just the way that they're made up is different, so they're just as fine, but the Teeswater tends to be a longer and curlier lock, whereas the blue-faced Leicester doesn't grow quite as much hair, quite as much wool, and has a tighter curl. So there's lots of different colours there, you can see. This here is washed Teeswater locks, so you can really see in there all the nice curls have been able to loosen off because all the dirt and everything has been washed out. Now, next, we'll get rid of all those, bring over these. So this here is the end product. So these are spun wools, you see here. These are both natural colours. This one is a North Ronaldsay and it has got the little guarding hairs in there. So this isn't as soft, you can feel the hairs in there, and also it gives it a bit more of a grey colour. Whereas this is washed and spun Teeswater and there are no hairs, very, very soft, good for hats, scarves. This is what we saw before. This is Manx Lockton wool. So the dark and the light outer coating combine together to kind of make this chocolatey brown. If you leave this in the sun, it will go lighter and lighter because it's not very colour fast. So Lockton is great, but you can't leave it in your conservatory because it will bleach. And these here are two I've spun up. These are then from what we saw before. So this and this wool would have been spun from something that looked like this. So you can see how they come out very different to how you might expect them to. And then these here are just single coloured spun wools. So I'll take you now and have show you how the spinning wheel works. So here we are, this is my spinning wheel. It looks quite a lot different to what you might think a spinning wheel would have looked like. 100, 200 years ago, they were quite big, not very easy to move, whereas this one folds up and goes in its little bag over there. So it's very modern. This here is where all the wool goes onto when you've spun it. So this all fills up. This here is how you tension the wheel, so it's how fast it goes in onto the spool there. And then this here is like gears on your bike, so that's what controls how fast the wheel goes when you pedal with your feet. So this is the wool we've just seen. I've just unravelled it, and I'll show you now what happens. So as the wool starts to twist, the individual hairs have barbs on them. So as they twist, the barbs all get entwined, and that's what keeps it all together. So it starts off like this. The wheel spins and puts the twist through the yarn there, and that's what keeps it together. It's like that. You'll be able to see my feet. So I move my feet like this, up and down, and that then sends a spin through the yarn like that. And you can see it going in. Use a bit more wool. So here at the moment, this is what you would call one ply, but you can have a look at what your wool will look like by doing this. This is now what you would call two ply. It's two pieces of yarn spun together. It hasn't got any twist, so it's not biased one way, and it gives you an idea of what your wool might look like at the end. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've got any questions about the sheep, about conservation grazing, just put them in the comments below and we'll do our best to answer. If you've got any other video ideas you'd like to see from me or any of my colleagues at Manx Wildlife Trust, we'll do our best to see what we can do during this lockdown to bring the outside world to you. Bye!